So hi, my name is Evan Arbuckle, and today I'll be talking about modeling regional hydropower development with GCAM-Canada. So hydropower today uses the flow of water in rivers to spin turbines that generate electricity. Today it generates about 60% of Canada's total. The momentum for hydropower growth has slowed in the past few decades, but electricity demand continues to grow and will accelerate with electrification, which is the transition of energy consumption from fossil fuels to electricity to meet climate action targets by reducing total emissions. There's a lot that goes into determining what makes a good site for hydropower. It depends strongly on the local conditions, including river flow and slope, seasonal and interannual climate variations, local geology, topography, and more, to determine how much hydropower can be developed in a location and how much it might cost. Detailed studies to quantify these values are usually conducted for isolated regions only when there's already been a decision to build hydropower, which leads us to our problem, which is that to get a complete picture of how hydropower fits into the wider energy system, we need to get an idea of how hydropower resource potential fits into, or at local scales, fits into the wider nation as a whole. So hydropower competes with other technologies for development of new generation. So it's important to consider how it fits into the larger electricity and energy systems. So our research questions are: what role could hydropower play in various Canadian climate policy strategies? And how might hydropower development proceed among local regions within Canada? So to consider hydropower in the context of wider energy systems, we work with a computer model called GCAM, or the Global Change Analysis Model, which connects energy, agriculture, water, climate, and socioeconomic systems. It's capable of simulating outcomes subject to user-defined scenarios in 5-year time steps through future periods. Primarily, the model seeks to balance supply and demand of all modeled markets, with many interconnected feedbacks between systems. So the publicly released GCAM currently uses fixed assumptions for hydropower development, which restricts it from having feedbacks with other sectors. In previous work, we've added resource data for hydropower at the national level and made model developments to make hydropower a dynamic variable within GCAM for the first time. From there, we've now enhanced the model structure to allow for better spatial resolution. We did this by splitting Canada into 35 local regions based on provinces, territories, and major river basins. We compiled data regarding existing hydropower generation in Canada, calibrated the model with historical data, and then developed resource cost supply curves to specify how much hydropower could be developed in each region and at what cost, so that hydropower development can compete in the model for a share of electricity generation against other technologies. So now we'll take a look at some model results. This figure here shows electricity generation by technology to 2050. It shows a scenario with significant electrification to reach net zero GHG emissions for Canada by 2050, most of which is accommodated by new hydropower and other renewable sources. The hydropower growth is really focused in BC and Quebec, and the lines in the figure show how hydropower would expand for 3 different scenarios, with the lower one being when no climate policies are in place, the middle one with existing federal climate policies, and the higher one with net zero by 2050. As demand increases for electrification. So zooming into Quebec now, the results show that most of the possible growth there is likely to come from just one sort of major river basin in the north, the Hudson Bay coast area, while the regions or the resources in the areas further south have largely been exhausted already, and any remaining resources are not as readily available. So in summary, hydropower development is compared for regional scales within Canada using GCAM, an integrated assessment model that can simulate future scenarios considering many connected systems. Note that the results are not meant to be predictions, but the benefit of the model is that scenario comparisons can show what the differences between policy options might be from a wider systems perspective. For each of the scenarios in this work, growth in hydro is based on local costs and calibrated for preferences to build in certain regions. Our work shows that if hydropower development continues in Canada, most of the best remaining resources are in BC and Quebec. Hydropower could possibly be used for new growth to help produce lower emitting electricity as part of electrification efforts. Whether this happens or not will depend on how Canadians want their energy system to transition. So I'll just take a moment to thank our partners at the Joint Global Change Research Institute in College Park, Maryland, and Environment and Climate Change Canada. And then these are some of our references. Please feel free to contact me at the email address on the screen. Yeah, and thanks for listening, and don't be shy to ask any questions.